going to be making some videos on belts and pulleys and how to access items in front of the engine like the water pump and thermostat. To access belts and pulleys, you do need to remove the air snorkel, which I have a video for. I also have a video on how to remove the fan clutch. That's for vehicles with automatic transmissions, and the electrical fan for manual transmissions. For complete instructions, refer to Bmw Fan Clutch Removal with tips and tricks. That would be for automatic transmission. Or Bmw 3 Series electric fan removal and replacement for manual transmission. And look for the videos by Ask the Car Experts. This is a quick look at removal of the fan clutch for automatic transmissions. You do need a 32mm wrench and a holder so that you can break the nut free. It is reverse thread, so you have to go towards the right. That would be to remove the fan clutch to access the belts and pulleys. For a manual transmission, you have to remove the intake hood right here. It has some plastic rivet clips, and then you also have the electric connector for the fan. You have a Torx on the passenger side, and you have another push rivet, and then the fan will lift straight out. I also have a video on this. I'm going to go over on how to remove and install or replace the drive belts on a Bmw 3 Series, or realistically this would be any vehicle with the M52TU engine or M54 engine. Now if you take a look at the belts, they actually make a backwards C, and that's an easy way to remember the diagram to actually install the belts. If you look right there, this would be the C section here, and then it comes back up around this way, over, under, and down, and then back around the crank to the tensioner again. This is an idler up here, your water pump, and then you have obviously your crank over here, and then you have your alternator and power steering pump. Now in this BMW, you have to take off the AC compressor belt first because it is in the front. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to take both belts off and then reinstall. Now because of the location, it's actually kind of difficult to set up a tripod to record this. Now I already have the fan removed. I have a video, or I've attached it to the front of this video. So I'm going to come down here and I have a 90-degree pick, and I'm going to take this cover off. I'm just going to pop it off and make it fall to the ground just using a 90-degree pick. Let's see if I can steady this here. So you just want to catch just the very edge of it, and there it goes, popped right off. You can see this actually has a Torx style bolt holding it, and this is for the lower tensioner. Oops, down here, sorry about that. And then I can also take this cover off here. Now if I have to replace the idler, I would take this cap off as well. But first things first, let's take the belts off. If I was going to replace this idler, I'd have to get the belts off. So same thing here, this is just a cover. You can see, just pop that right off. Let's see, and this has, some of these may be an Allen or a Torx. I think the updated one was changed to an Allen. You can't actually get, or maybe you can online, the mechanical tensioner. Now it actually switches over to like a hydraulic style, which is like a little retrofit kit. I just realized I don't have any stubby T50s at home, but I do have a setup that will work, although this right here, this is a long extension T50. That's the Torx 50. That's going to be the size you need, unless it's the Allen head, and obviously you want to use an Allen. If you only have a long T50 like this, just watch out for the radiator, but it will work. Basically the idea is, make sure you can see this, yep, is to push down, and that's going to take the tension off. Once the tension's off, you can go ahead and just slip the belt over the top. let the tensioner come back up, and that's that belt removed. Alright, now to remove the main serpentine belt. Obviously, like I said, it's a backwards C. I have this tripod set up kind of precariously, so I have to be careful not to knock it down here, but same idea. You're going to just come in here and you're going to take the tension off. See if I can go through that. You want to make sure that you're in there all the way, and you know, with the shorter Torx, it is going to be easier to actually get the leverage, and obviously if you use a larger ratchet, it's going to be easier as well. But for the sake of space and tools that I have at home, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that that's seated all the way. And same idea, you just want to pull it back and make sure that you relieve the tension. I don't like that bite. That was a better spot. Make sure that's seated all the way. And as soon as you take the tension off, nice and easy, you can slide the belt over the top and let the tension back off. There we go. And once you have that one belt off, the rest just comes off nice and easy. Once you have it off the tensioner pulley. So you can go ahead and take that out. Now, usually you can tell if you need to replace your belts. You just want to take a look and see if there's any cracking, which is called dry rot, on the rib of the belt itself. And that's actually kind of common on an E46. This belt looks good, and this would also be a step you would need to do to actually take a look and spin components, see if there's any bearing noise. Actually, that one doesn't sound very good. Yeah, listen to that. It's actually a little loose. I've had these come apart. I've seen them come apart, and yeah, just don't like the way that sounds. Let's take a peek. I think this actually is the hydraulic tensioner. So this has had the update. Now the other tensioner down here is actually the spring tensioner. That's usually what's here. But somebody's actually already replaced this with the hydraulic version. I should take that apart and show you how it goes together. That way, if you want to get the parts and do the conversion yourself, it's actually not that difficult. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the belt. This can actually be just a little tricky. It's not like it's that hard, but so if I start at the alternator, get this over here, and just pretty much put it into place. Alright, remember I'm going to have the backwards C here, so I'm going to come up around this way. You can always make yourself a diagram. Well, I want to do that after. Oh, the little cap fell off. There we go. I grabbed that cap so I don't lose it. That's just a cap that's part of this updated tensioner. That's going to go around that way. So I got to make a loop. It's going to come this way. Make sure this is over here. Okay. Position that so that the ribs are over the raised edges on the pulleys, and pretty much ready to go here. Wish I had that shorter T50, but I'll see if I can make this work. Alright, so you put tension on it. And make sure I'm in the right spot here, over the crank. Alright. Now there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can do it right here at the tensioner itself, because if you pull it tight and you're on everything, you can actually just double check and see how it feels, make sure it's seated right. And you can apply a little bit of pressure, and right there is Torx. So, I slide that in. Hopefully you can see this alright. Make sure I'm in alright. All the way. I gotta try not to bugger this up again, so pull that back. Let's see, I came off the water pump. Go back around. we go. See, I slid that over, and then I can go ahead and release the tension. Then I just want to touch everything here, feel on the bottom by power steering pump, and at the bottom of the crank, and make sure that there's two ridges. That belt's going to sit right in between that ridge, and this is centered nice on the tensioner. Yeah, that hydraulic portion is pretty tight, so on this one, usually they're easier to actually compress. This one's actually pretty hard to compress. I'm going to be replacing this with that bolt. I didn't like the way that sounded, so I got to pick up a new pulley, and maybe at the same time I'll show you how to take apart the whole thing and put the updated hydraulic tensioner on this. Alright, so once that belt's done, you move over to the other belt. Actually, that one should be easier. Alright, same idea. Gonna put this around. This is the higher ridge, so this is gonna have to go up over the top like this and work around the tripod again. Now, obviously, without that, it would be much easier to do. Let's see if I can get in there, but I need you to see what's going on. This is going to go over the top like this, and this is going to go around this way like that. So a couple of ways again you could do this. Better off getting it ready to go. Hopefully you can see that my arm's not in the way. Like that. And then compress your tensioner. So if you got two hands and not juggling a tripod, bring that down. That's all the way at the bottom. That should give me plenty of room to go ahead and slide this belt on. I want to make sure I'm on the ribs, especially on the compressor, and then let my tension up. And then feel underneath and make sure it's on there good. Because if you're off a tooth, you can damage the belt or have it come off. But that's it. It'll be much easier with two hands and nothing in your way, obviously. Alright, always remember to put the caps back on, because these caps are protecting these components from water. You can't really mix these up. You know, we have one for each that I took off, so you know, try to put one on. If it doesn't fit, then obviously it's the other one. Let's see which one was the small one. This is going to be the big one down here, I think. Let's see. Oh, maybe it is the small one. Yep, pop that on, the small one there. And then the bigger one over here. Alright, pop that on. Remember, that's a backward C for that to route that belt. And it's as easy as that. So not over. One final thing before I wrap this one up. I just have a couple of parts here to show you. If you're getting a noise from the front of the engine, especially on a cold start, it's good to take the belts off. You spin everything by hand like I did, especially like the tensioner and the idler and or deflection pulley, just to see if you're getting any kind of a bearing noise. Like this one down here was pretty noisy. That would be this right here, which came off of another vehicle, where this whole centerpiece separates. Now this is where the bearing rides. It chews it right up, and that comes apart. When this happens, your belts can come off. Now that would be the tensioner pulley, and this is the deflection pulley, and it has a little locator right there because it actually installs this way. That's where the bolt goes through, and you can see same thing. This must have been making noise for a while. This piece here separated. You can actually see that this is where the bearings would ride on, and it all completely came apart. Now when something like this comes apart, it can be pretty catastrophic. I believe on those there was some more damage. The belts come off, they get caught, they get chewed up, or they get thrown around. And obviously this is all plastic right over here, so that can damage the expansion tank. Man, I've seen it cut power steering lines, go through coolant hoses, which are very close by, right above this light right here. Obviously that's swinging around, that's going to do some damage to that too. Cut some wiring. You got some Vanos wiring over here on the other side, you know, so you got some wiring that can get damaged. If you have, obviously you have the automatic, the fan is going to come apart and then grenade, and that does even more damage. So it's just, I mean, the fan shroud, the fan, there's a ton of stuff that can actually come apart and do some major damage. So if you have some noise or a pulley like I have even on this vehicle, the one that's making noise, give it a spin and you can actually hear the bearings making a funny noise, replace it. It's not worth having one of these grenade on you and do some major damage, and that's just going to cost you more in the long run, or even failure if it overheats. So just something good to check every now and then. If it's never been replaced, you know,